This day in sports history. It's May 23rd, and on this day in 1984, a coin flip changed the course of the NBA for a generation. So there's been some focus on the recent coin flip that happened prior to this year's NBA draft between Dallas and Chicago. The Mavs won that coin toss and then miraculously wound up the winner of the draft lottery with the top overall pick and the presumed number one pick of Cooper Flagg. Well, Bulls fans, let's remember a happier time when a coin flip on this day that you weren't even involved in actually benefited you tremendously. So Houston and Portland tied for the worst record after the 83-84 season. And with this being in the pre-lottery days, teams selected in reverse order of finish. Well, since there was a tie at the bottom, a flip of the coin determined who would get that first pick. Hakeem Olajuwon was considered the best player in the draft, with Naismith and Wooden Award winner Michael Jordan as the second best draft prospect.
Portland calls tails. Here goes the flip. Heads it is.
So Houston won that coin flip and, of course, selected Olajuwon, setting up the twin towers of Hakeem and Ralph Sampson. Portland, with Clyde Drexler on the roster, weren't going to select a similar player in Jordan, and so they took center Sam Bowie out of Kentucky. And of course, the Bulls took Jordan. But here's how things would have been different. If Portland had won that coin toss, they would have taken Olajuwon with the first pick, pairing him up with his college teammate Drexler. Houston would have selected Jordan, and it's likely that the Bulls would have taken Charles Barkley with that third pick. There could have certainly been a trade at the third pick that would have mixed things up more, but it is interesting to think about how that one flip of the coin changed the landscape. Now, here's something else that is kind of wild to consider that would have resulted in another coin toss and possible different landing spot for Jordan. Back on December 9th, the Bulls played the Houston Rockets at home. The Rockets' Caldwell Jones hit a three-pointer as the horn sounded in regulation to tie the game. The Rockets went on to beat the Bulls in OT 115-112. But the Bulls thought Jones's game-tying shot had not left his hand when the horn sounded, and they filed an official protest with the league office, providing what they thought to be compelling evidence. New NBA Commissioner David Stern considered their protest, but eventually refused to overrule the call on the court that night. Now, if Stern had ruled in the Bulls' favor, it would have given them one more win that season and put them in a tie with the Dallas Mavericks that would have created the need for another coin flip and the potential for Jordan ending up in Dallas instead of Chicago. The Bulls embraced the Dalai Lama's mantra, "Sometimes not getting what you want is a surprising stroke of luck." This episode is brought to you by the Sterling Soap Company. Sterling Soap is 100% natural, and with a variety of bath soaps, shave soaps, beard balm, lotions, cologne, and many more personal care products in a large variety of scents, you're sure to find something that's perfect for you or that special someone in your life. Check them out at sterlingsoap.com. On this day in 2021, Phil Mickelson seemed to dial back the clock and recaptured some of that old Phil magic. This was the PGA Championship held at Kiawah Island. Phil Mickelson was not on anybody's radar as a contender, really. He was a five-time major tournament winner, sure, but he had not won one since 2013's British Open, and he hadn't placed inside the top 10 in a major in 5 years. Also had not finished top 10 in any tournament in his previous 17 outings. Plus, in golf years, let's face it, Phil was old. Yeah, he'd taken good care of himself, but he was 50, and the oldest to ever win a major at this point was 48-year-old Julius Boros at the 1968 PGA. So it was great to have Phil at the tournament, and if he was around for the weekend, hey, that'd be great. The way he started the tournament on Thursday, though, gave more the indication that he'd be slamming the trunk on Friday. His opening 9 featured 4 bogeys, but 4 birdies on the backside got the ship back on course, and he managed to shoot a 2 under 70 to put his name on the leaderboard. Phil once again blazed a path on his second 9 holes in round 2 with 5 birdies and shot to the top of the leaderboard with a 369, and he was tied with Louis Oosthuizen at the top after Friday. Mickelson took a 5-shot lead at one point on Saturday before a few errant shots brought him back to the field with another 270 and a 1-shot lead heading into Sunday. Playing with Brooks Koepka on Sunday, it was a little back and forth between them with 2-shot swings on the first couple of holes. Mickelson's caddy on this day was his brother Tim, and after the 6th hole, Tim told Phil that he just wasn't committing. He said, "If you're going to win this thing, you're going to have to make committed golf swings." And so Phil took that advice, and he did. He had a good drive on 7 and at one point built his lead back up to 4 shots before finding the water hazard on 13. After smoking his drive 366 yards on the 16th, which was the longest of the tournament, and making birdie, he had a 3-shot lead and the championship was in his pocket. As he walked up the 18th, the crowd was firmly in his favor. It was a scene that Phil had not been a part of in his 5 previous major championship wins, saying, "To feel that kind of excitement and enthusiasm was pretty special. I'll always cherish it."
Phil has 158 yards to the front. That is the most important number. It is a 9-iron. And it is right at it.
Oh, you're not kidding. Kiawah erupts.
Mickelson won by 2 shots over Koepka and Oosthuizen, becoming the oldest player to ever win a major, just shy of his 51st birthday. On this day in 1958, Wilt Chamberlain turned pro, but he was not headed to the NBA. Chamberlain had been the dominant force that everybody thought he would be in college. In his 2 seasons as a Kansas Jayhawk, and a reminder here that this was the era when freshmen were not allowed to play on the varsity team, he averaged close to 30 points a game. This is also the era before the shot clock and the 3-point arc. He had led Kansas to the national title game a few months prior, losing in a triple overtime thriller to North Carolina. But Wilt was frustrated with the college game. He faced triple teams nearly every game. Teams would hold the ball on offense to shorten the game. The game just wasn't challenging him the way he felt he needed to be challenged to get ready for the NBA. So on this day, Wilt gave up his final year of eligibility at Kansas and he turned pro. But he could not head to the NBA due to a rule in place at that time that prohibited players from playing until their college class graduated. He and the Philadelphia Warriors, who owned his NBA rights, had to wait a year. So Wilt joined the Harlem Globetrotters instead, signing a $46,000 contract in June. He felt that life as a pro on the road would mimic and help him prepare for life in the NBA. It would certainly be a change from Kansas. Immediately after signing, he hopped on a plane and he flew to Milan to join the team for the European Tour and eventually traveled to Russia for a barnstorming tour around the Soviet Union during a pretty heated time during the Cold War. Attendance for the Globetrotters rose dramatically with Wilt on the team, and he earned top billing from the start. He played with the Trotters for a season before joining Philly in 1959. But he would go back to play with Meadowlark Lemon and the others from time to time during his early pro days. On this day in 1977, jockey Steve Cauthen was thrown from his mount during a race and he was badly injured in a 3-horse accident. So, a couple of things to know first. Cauthen was a 17-year-old wonderkid at this point who was tearing up the horse racing world